They gave the blind human the ugly alien sister, thinking he wouldn't notice. What happened? Lucas Parks stood tall on the landing pad, his muscular frame cutting an impressive silhouette against the alien skyline of Vertal. The diplomatic shuttle that had brought him across 17 star systems powered down behind him with a fading hum. Despite the tight black blindfold covering his eyes, a traditional human gesture of respect during Vertalian marriage ceremonies, he sensed everything around him. The strange metallic scent of the atmosphere, the subtle vibrations of approaching footsteps, the whispered conversations in both Vertalian and Standard. Ambassador Parks, a deep voice addressed him in slightly accented Standard. I am High Counselor Thrain. Welcome to the Imperial Palace of Vertal. Lucas extended his hand with practiced precision. The honor is mine, Counselor. I trust the arrangements for the ceremony are proceeding as agreed? A moment of hesitation, so brief most would miss it, but Lucas caught it instantly. His other senses, honed since losing his sight at age 6, picked up subtle changes in the breathing patterns of those around him. Of course, Thrain replied, a little too smoothly. The princess awaits your introduction in the Garden of Serenity. Please, follow me. As they walked, Lucas's cane tapped rhythmically against the polished stone floor. He didn't need it for navigation. His spatial awareness was exceptional, but it provided useful information about his surroundings and maintained others' expectations of his limitations. The whispers continued around him. He won't know the difference? The Emperor insisted. Better this way for everyone. Lucas suppressed a smile. They thought him deaf as well as blind. The air changed as they entered what must be the Garden of Serenity, warmer, filled with the scent of unfamiliar flora. He heard the soft rustle of fabric ahead, sensed a presence waiting. Ambassador Parks, Thrain announced formally, may I present Princess Alana of the House of Vertal, your betrothed. Lucas bowed deeply, then straightened. Princess, I've traveled across the stars to meet you. He extended his hand and after a moment's hesitation, felt fingers touch his. Immediately, he knew. This was not the princess he had been promised. The hand that met his was smaller, the skin texture different from the Vertalian diplomatic files he'd memorized. The breathing pattern indicated nervousness. And the scent, a subtle, almost imperceptible fragrance, unlike the royal perfumes described in his briefings. Ambassador, a soft voice replied, higher pitched than expected. I welcome you to Vertal. Lucas gently raised his hand to her face, a traditional gesture permitted in Vertalian courtship rituals. His fingers traced features that confirmed his suspicions. This was not Princess Alana. The facial structure was wrong, the cheekbones higher, the jaw more delicate. May I know your name? He asked softly, his fingers still resting against azure skin that felt smooth beneath his touch. Another hesitation. I am Elia of House Vertal. Elia, he repeated, letting his thumb brush gently across her cheek. Not Alana? The tension in the garden became palpable. He heard Thrain's sharp intake of breath, felt Elia's pulse quicken beneath his fingertips. My sister was unavoidably detained, Elia finally said, her voice gaining strength. I stand in her place. Lucas smiled, his hands still cupping her face. I see, he said, the irony of his words not lost on anyone present. Then I am pleased to meet you, Elia of House Vertal. He felt her surprise. Clearly she had expected anger, rejection, or at least confusion, and instead he lowered his hand to take hers again, raising it to his lips in a human gesture of respect. Perhaps you would show me the gardens? He suggested. I'm told they're quite beautiful. You wish to proceed? Thrain asked, confusion evident in his voice. Of course, Lucas replied smoothly. I came to forge an alliance between our peoples. The specifics seem to have changed, but the purpose remains. He turned toward where he sensed Elia standing. Unless the princess objects to my company? No, Elia said quickly. I would be honored to show you the gardens. As they walked away from the stunned diplomatic party, Lucas offered his arm to Elia, who hesitantly took it. Her touch was light, uncertain. They think I don't know, he murmured, just loud enough for her to hear. Know what? she asked, tension in her voice. Lucas smiled. Everything. For the first time, he heard a small, genuine laugh escape her. I doubt that very much, human. Lucas, he corrected, and you'd be surprised what I perceive, Alaya. For instance, I know you're considered less attractive by Vertalian standards, which is why they thought they could fool me. Her steps faltered. You are direct. I find it saves time, he replied. What I don't know is why they would risk insulting Earth by such an obvious substitution. Alaya guided him around what must be a fountain. He could hear the water. My sister is to marry the Prince of Nexor tomorrow. A more politically advantageous match. I see, Lucas said again. And you were the convenient solution? Yeah, she admitted. The unwanted sister suitable only for a blind human who wouldn't know the difference. Lucas stopped walking, turning to face her. Their mistake, he said softly, was assuming that sight is the only way to see beauty. Tell me about Vertalian courtship rituals, Lucas said as they continued their walk through the gardens. His fingers brushed against unfamiliar plants, their textures unlike anything on Earth. Alaya hesitated. They're rather formal. Traditionally, couples spend 3 months in supervised company before they are permitted to touch beyond a ceremonial handholding. Lucas laughed. And yet here I am, having touched your face within minutes of meeting you. Human customs are considered shockingly forward, she admitted, her voice warming slightly. The diplomatic corps spent weeks debating how to accommodate your tactile nature. My tactile nature, Lucas repeated with amusement. Is that the diplomatic term for it? The polite one, Alaya replied, and Lucas detected a smile in her voice. Others suggested humans were simply primitive in their social interactions. Lucas stopped by what smelled like a flowering bush. May I? He asked, gesturing toward the plant. Of course, she replied. His fingers explored the alien flora. Petals that felt like cool metal, but yielded like silk. Primitive is an interesting word. On Earth, we might use it to describe something authentic, unfiltered by social pretense. His hand returned to find hers. Like how I can tell your pulse quickens when I touch you. The subtle catch in her breath confirmed his observation. That's unusually perceptive, she murmured. Necessity, Lucas shrugged. When you lose one sense, others compensate. I hear the subtle shifts in your voice, feel the temperature changes in your skin. He moved closer, just enough to sense her body heat. For instance, I know you're blushing right now. Vertalians don't blush, she protested. Your skin temperature just rose 2 degrees, he countered with a smile. What do you call it? A pause. We call it revealing color, she admitted. It's considered inappropriate in formal settings. Lucas took a step back, respecting her discomfort. I apologize if I violated a cultural taboo. No, she said quickly, surprising herself with her eagerness. I mean, this is educational for the Alliance. Understanding human directness will be valuable. Educational, Lucas repeated, his smile widening. Of course. They continued walking, and Lucas noted how Alaya gradually moved closer to him, their arms occasionally brushing. Each contact sent a current of awareness between them. What else should I know about Vertalian culture? He asked. Beyond the obvious attempt to substitute brides, Alaya made a sound, half laugh, half sigh. We are a people of appearances and hierarchy. Beauty is power. Position is everything. Her voice took on a bitter edge. Those who lack either become invisible. Like you? Lucas asked softly. I was born with a genetic variation, she explained. My markings are silver instead of gold. My eyes lack the proper luminescence. Small differences, but enough to make me unsuitable. Lucas reached for her hand again, finding it without hesitation. On Earth, we have a saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Perhaps it's fortunate I behold with different senses. You're very kind, she said, for someone who's been deceived. I'm curious, not kind, Lucas corrected. You're unlike anyone I've ever met, human or otherwise. Your voice carries emotions, your words try to hide. Your movements are graceful but guarded. You fascinate me, Alaya of House Vertal. She stopped walking. Lucas sensed that they had reached a secluded alcove, sheltered by what felt like a canopy of hanging vines. "You should be angry," she whispered. "This deception could damage the alliance." "I'm not a diplomat because I lack control over my emotions," Lucas replied. "I'm more interested in why you agreed to this charade." "I had no choice," she said, then immediately corrected herself. "No, that's not entirely true. I could have refused, but the consequences would have been significant. For you or for Vertal? Both," she admitted. "My sister's marriage to Prince Nexor will secure vital resources our planet needs, and Her voice faltered. "You would be further ostracized," Lucas finished for her. "Yes." Lucas reached up, his fingers finding the edge of his blindfold. "May I remove this now? The ceremony doesn't begin until tomorrow, correct?" "Yes, but..." Elia's voice held sudden panic. "Please don't." His hands stilled. "Why not?" "Because then you'll truly see me," she whispered. "And despite your kind words, reality is often disappointing." Lucas slowly lowered his hands, respecting her wish. Instead, he raised them to gently frame her face. "Elia, I haven't seen with my eyes since I was 6 years old, but I see you more clearly than anyone on this planet." He felt her tremble beneath his touch. "How can you possibly say that?" "Because I feel the strength in you," he said, his thumbs tracing her cheekbones. "I hear the intelligence in your words. I sense the passion you keep carefully controlled." His fingers traced down to her lips, feeling them part slightly at his touch. The temperature between them seemed to rise by several degrees. "Human courtship is very different," Elia breathed, not moving away. "Yes," Lucas agreed, leaning closer until their foreheads touched. "Much less formal, much more intuitive." "Show me," she whispered. Lucas closed the remaining distance between them, his lips finding hers with perfect precision. The kiss was gentle at first, then deepened as Elia responded with surprising intensity. Her arms wound around his neck as his encircled her waist. When they finally parted, both were breathing heavily. "That was..." Elia seemed at a loss for words. "Educational?" Lucas suggested with a smile. Her laugh was genuine this time, uninhibited. "Extremely." "Ambassador Parks and Lady Elia are requested in the Imperial Chamber immediately?" The stern voice of the Royal Herald interrupted their moment of connection. Lucas felt Elia tense beneath his touch, her body temperature dropping perceptibly. "The Imperial Chamber?" she whispered. "That means my father." "Emperor Thalan," Lucas finished, straightening his diplomatic uniform. I suppose our garden education has been noticed." "This is serious, Lucas," Elia's voice trembled slightly. "My father doesn't summon people to the Imperial Chamber for minor infractions. He executes people there." Lucas reached for her hand, finding it cold. "I'm a diplomatic representative of Earth. He wouldn't risk interstellar conflict." "You don't understand Vertalian politics," she replied, guiding him toward what must be the palace. "Humans have been granted provisional status only. One misstep, and the alliance collapses." Lucas squeezed her hand reassuringly. "Then we won't misstep." The walk to the Imperial Chamber felt longer than it likely was, their footsteps echoing through corridors that Lucas sensed were growing larger and more ornate. The air became cooler, carrying the scent of what reminded him of incense and ozone. When they arrived, the herald announced them with a series of tonal clicks that Lucas recognized as formal Vertalian. "Enter," commanded a deep voice that seemed to resonate from the walls themselves. Lucas felt Elia release his hand as they crossed the threshold. He understood. Appearances mattered now. "Ambassador Parks," the Emperor's voice addressed him directly, "I trust your accommodations are satisfactory?" "Most impressive, Your Imperial Majesty," Lucas replied with a formal bow in the direction of the voice. "Your hospitality honors Earth." "And yet," a new voice interjected, female, sharp with authority, "you repay that hospitality by dishonoring our customs." "Imperial Consort Mireia," Elia whispered, barely audible. "My daughter was observed engaging in physical contact of an intimate nature," the consort continued. "Contact that violates our most sacred traditions." Lucas stood straight, projecting confidence. On Earth, physical touch is how we communicate sincerity and trust. I apologize for any cultural misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? A third voice joined, male, dripping with disdain. The human pawed at our sister like a beast. Prince Kalen, Alaya identified softly. Lucas felt the tension in the room thicken. I meant no disrespect to Lady Alaya or your traditions, he said carefully. But I must point out that I was promised Princess Elena in the diplomatic arrangements. Finding Lady Alaya in her place suggests I'm not the only one taking liberties with our agreement. A heavy silence followed his words. The human is more perceptive than anticipated, Emperor Thelon finally said, his tone unreadable. He's blind, Prince Kalen scoffed. He cannot perceive anything. And yet, Lucas countered smoothly, I perceived the substitution immediately. It's just as I perceive that this confrontation isn't truly about a kiss in the garden. He turned his head slightly, addressing where he sensed Alaya standing. It's about what your family fears I might discover about you. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. You overstep, Ambassador, the Emperor warned. No more than you did when you offered one daughter while delivering another, Lucas replied. Earth values honesty in its alliances. What else are you concealing? Father, Alaya's voice rang out with unexpected strength. The human speaks truth. This deception was wrong. Silence, the consort hissed. You forget your place. My place? Alaya's voice grew bolder. My place was to be hidden away, then offered to a blind alien who supposedly wouldn't know the difference. But he does know. He sees more than any of you. Lucas felt a surge of admiration for her courage. The human has corrupted her, Prince Kalen declared. Their contact has awakened her condition. Condition? Lucas asked, turning toward Alaya. What condition? Before she could answer, the Emperor spoke. Enough. The alliance with Earth remains valuable despite this complication. Ambassador Parks, you will be given new quarters separate from Lady Alaya. The ceremony will proceed tomorrow as planned. And if I refuse, Lucas asked quietly, then Earth loses access to our hyperspace corridors, the Emperor stated flatly. Your ships would take decades to reach your outer colonies rather than months. Your economy would collapse within a year. Lucas nodded slowly. I understand the stakes, Your Majesty, but I require a private conversation with Lady Alaya before I make my decision. Absolutely not, the consort objected. 1 hour, the Emperor countered, supervised by royal guards. At a respectful distance, Lucas added, what we discuss is between Lady Alaya and myself. After a tense moment, the Emperor agreed. 1 hour, then you will give your answer, Ambassador. They were escorted to a small chamber adjacent to the Imperial Hall. Lucas sensed the guards positioning themselves by the door, far enough away for privacy if they spoke softly. What condition was your brother referring to? Lucas asked immediately. Alaya's voice was barely a whisper. I possess an ability rare among Vertalians. When I connect with someone, I can sense their thoughts, their intentions. Telepathy? Lucas asked, fascinated. More limited. It requires physical contact. It's why intimate touching is so taboo in our culture. It could reveal too much. She paused. When we kissed, you read my mind? Lucas smiled. Glimpses, she admitted. Your attraction to me is, overwhelming, genuine, unlike anything I've experienced. Lucas moved closer, lowering his voice further. Is that why they fear our connection? Because you might learn state secrets through me? Partly, she said, but mostly because they've spent years convincing me I'm worthless. That my appearance makes me undesirable, and my ability makes me dangerous. Her voice strengthened. You shattered that illusion in minutes. Lucas reached for her hand, feeling her hesitate before accepting his touch. What happens if we proceed with this marriage? I don't know, she admitted, but I felt something when we touched, Lucas. Something I want to explore further. He smiled, raising her hand to his lips, as did I. When Lucas returned to the Imperial chamber, his decision was made. He stood tall, shoulders squared, the picture of human confidence that had first established Earth as a formidable presence in interstellar politics. "Your Majesty," he addressed Emperor Thalon directly, "I will proceed with the marriage to Lady Alea." He sensed the surprise rippling through the room, the subtle shift in breathing patterns, the almost imperceptible movements. "However," Lucas continued before anyone could speak, "I have conditions." "Conditions?" Prince Kalen scoffed. "You are in no position." "I speak for Earth," Lucas interrupted firmly, "and Earth does not enter unbalanced alliances." The Emperor's voice remained measured. "What conditions, Ambassador?" "First, Lady Alea will be accorded full status as my diplomatic partner, with all privileges and protections of an Earth representative." "Impossible," the consort objected. "She is Vertalian." "She will be my wife," Lucas countered. "On Earth, marriage partners share status." This is non-negotiable. He could sense the Emperor's calculating silence. "Second," Lucas continued, "I require complete information about Lady Alea's abilities. No more secrets between allies." "Those abilities are a state matter," the Emperor said. "They directly affect my marriage and by extension, Earth's relationship with Vertal. Full disclosure or no alliance." Lucas heard the Emperor shift in what must be his throne. "And your third condition, Ambassador?" "A direct communication channel to Earth's Central Command, unmonitored by Vertalian security, daily." The temperature in the room seemed to drop further. "You ask much," the Emperor finally said. "I offer much in return," Lucas replied. "Earth's military protection, our technological advancements, and..." He paused for effect. "My silence about the substitution attempt, which would be viewed as a grave insult by my government." The implicit threat hung in the air. "Father!" Alea's voice broke the silence, stronger than Lucas had yet heard it. "The human offers a fair exchange. More than fair, considering our deception." "You overstep, daughter," the consort hissed. "No," Alea replied firmly. "For the first time, I stand exactly where I should." Lucas felt a surge of pride at her courage. "Ambassador Parks," the Emperor spoke after a long pause, "your terms are accepted, with one modification. Your communication with Earth will be daily, but limited to 10 minutes. 30 minutes, Lucas countered. 15, the Emperor offered. Final? Agreed, Lucas nodded. The ceremony will proceed tomorrow as planned. So be it, the Emperor declared. You are dismissed. As they exited the chamber, Lucas felt Alea's hand slip into his, her touch electric with new confidence. That was, she whispered, unprecedented. Diplomacy often is, Lucas replied with a smile, especially when humans are involved. Later that evening in Lucas's diplomatic quarters, significantly more luxurious than he'd been initially provided, Alea explained her abilities in greater detail. My telepathic sensitivity is rare but not unique, she said, her voice low despite the privacy screening Lucas had activated. What makes me dangerous is its strength and my control over it. Dangerous how? Lucas asked, sitting beside her on what felt like a cushion bench. Most Vertalians with this gift can only receive surface thoughts through prolonged contact, she explained. I can access deeper memories, intentions, even subconscious desires. Her voice dropped further. And I can project thoughts back. Lucas whistled softly. That would make you quite the intelligence asset. Or weapon, she added grimly, which is why I've pretended for years that my ability is weak, unreliable. But it's not. No, she admitted. It's getting stronger. Especially, she hesitated. Especially with me? Lucas guessed, reaching for her hand. The moment their skin connected, Lucas felt a strange warmth spread up his arm, into his mind. Not invasive, but intimate in a way he'd never experienced. Yes, she breathed. With you, it's different, more intense, more... She struggled for words. Reciprocal? Lucas suggested, surprised to find he could sense vague impressions of her emotions, her nervousness, her excitement, her growing desire. Well, that's impossible, she gasped, pulling her hand away. Humans aren't telepathic. Maybe it's not telepathy, Lucas mused. Maybe it's something else entirely when our species connect. He reached for her again, finding her shoulder, then tracing his fingers up to her face. "May I?" Her answer was to lean into his touch, her skin warming beneath his fingertips. "Your brother mentioned a prophecy," Lucas said softly, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "What didn't they want me to know?" Alaya's breath caught. "How did you—" "I didn't," Lucas smiled, "but your reaction just confirmed it." She laughed softly. "Clever human. It's a gift," he replied, leaning closer. "Now, this prophecy?" "It's ancient," she whispered as his lips brushed her temple. "From before we achieved space travel. It speaks of the sightless one who sees all truths, who will join with the marked outcast to bring about a new era." Lucas stilled. "That's specific." "Too specific for my family's comfort," Alaya agreed, "especially since the prophecy continues that this union will topple the golden thrones and raise the silver banners." "Silver," Lucas repeated, his fingers finding the silvery markings on her skin. "Like your markings, not gold like the royal families." "Now you understand why they fear us," she said. "Why they tried to control our meeting, then panicked when we connected so quickly." Lucas pulled her closer, feeling her body heat against his chest. "They should be afraid," he murmured against her hair. "Not of prophecies, but of underestimating humans." "And Vertalians with nothing to lose," she added, her hands sliding up his chest. As their lips met, Lucas felt that strange mental connection bloom again. Stronger this time, carrying impressions of Alaya's feelings, her desires, her growing trust in him. He let his own barriers drop, wanting her to sense his genuine attraction, his respect for her strength, his determination to protect their alliance. When they finally separated, both breathing heavily, Lucas sensed a new resolve in Alaya. "Tomorrow," she whispered against his lips, "when we're married, they'll expect us to follow Vertalian tradition. Separate quarters for a month before physical consummation." "And what do you expect?" Lucas asked, his hands tracing the curve of her waist. Her answer was to guide his hands higher, her body arching into his touch. "I expect humans don't follow Vertalian traditions." "On that," Lucas smiled, pulling her closer, "you would be correct." Dawn broke over the capital city of Vertal, bathing the crystalline spires in pale lavender light. In his diplomatic quarters, Lucas woke to the gentle hum of his secure communicator. He reached for it, careful not to disturb Alaya, who slept beside him, her breathing soft and rhythmic. Their night together had been transformative. Beyond the physical connection, which had been intense and tender in equal measure, something profound had happened between them. Each touch had deepened their mental bond until Lucas felt he knew Alaya more intimately than anyone he'd ever encountered. Her thoughts had flowed into his, and remarkably, his into hers, a connection she'd insisted was unprecedented. "Secure line established," announced the communicator in a muted tone. "Priority message from Earth Command." Lucas pressed his thumb to the biometric reader. "Parks receiving." "Ambassador," came the crisp voice of Admiral Channing, "intelligence has uncovered disturbing information regarding Vertal. We have reason to believe they've been negotiating secretly with the Krell Dominion." Lucas stiffened. The Krell were Earth's most aggressive adversaries, responsible for attacks on 3 human colonies in the past decade. "Details," he asked quietly. "Intercepted communications suggest a resource-sharing agreement. The Vertalians provide access to their hyperspace corridors. The Krell provide advanced weapons technology. Timeline? Unknown, but the communications reference a changing of circumstances following a royal ceremony." Lucas's mind raced. "The wedding. My wedding." "Precisely our concern," Channing confirmed. "We believe once your marriage secures Earth's trust, they plan to pivot to this Krell alliance. You may be in danger, Ambassador." "Understood. I'll proceed with caution. Parks out." As the connection terminated, Lucas sensed Alaya stirring beside him. "Bad news," she murmured, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest. Lucas hesitated only briefly before deciding on honesty. "Earth believes your government is planning to betray our alliance in favor of the Krell." Instead of shock or denial, Alaya's body temperature dropped, her version of blanching. "The Krell? That's worse than I feared." "You're not surprised?" Lucas asked, turning toward her. I've sensed deception beyond the bride substitution, she admitted, but I've been kept away from high-level meetings for years because of my abilities. They wouldn't risk me learning their true plans. Lucas sat up, his tactical mind engaging. The ceremony is in 4 hours. We need to know more before then. There's a way, Alea said hesitantly. After last night, our connection is stronger. If I touch certain members of the court during the ceremony, you could read their intentions, Lucas finished, but wouldn't that put you at risk? Yes, she acknowledged. But after what we shared last night, my abilities feel amplified. I might manage it without detection. Lucas pulled her close, inhaling the unique spice and flower scent of her skin. Last night was transformative, she completed his thought, her fingers trailing up his arm. In Vertalian history, there's never been record of an alien species capable of reciprocating our mental connection. It shouldn't be possible. Humans have a habit of doing the impossible, Lucas smiled, kissing her forehead. It's kind of our thing. Her laugh was light, musical. I'm beginning to understand why some species find your kind so terrifying. Terrifying? Lucas raised an eyebrow. You adapt so quickly, overcome limitations that would stop others, she explained, her hand resting over his heart. Last night, you not only accepted my mental touch, but reached back into my mind. No Vertalian has ever managed that with me. Maybe that's why the prophecy specifies a human, Lucas suggested. Maybe we're uniquely compatible with your abilities. Alea was silent for a moment. There's more to the prophecy I didn't share, she finally admitted. It says the union will awaken the dormant sight and reveal the hidden stars. Dormant sight? Lucas repeated. That could mean many things. Tony, in the ancient texts, stars often referred to truths, she explained. Hidden knowledge. Lucas nodded thoughtfully. Well, we've certainly uncovered some hidden knowledge already. And there's the matter of your family's apparent treachery to address. We need a plan for the ceremony, Alea said, her voice growing determined. If the Krell are involved, this is bigger than court politics. Agreed, Lucas replied, his diplomat's mind already formulating strategies. Here's what we'll do. The Grand Temple of Vertal was an architectural marvel that even Lucas could appreciate through his other senses. The perfect acoustics that carried whispers from hundreds of feet away, the subtle temperature variations as they passed beneath vast domes, the scent of ancient stone and ceremonial oils. He and Alea had been separated upon arrival, as tradition demanded. Now he stood at the central altar, awaiting her arrival, surrounded by the elite of Vertalian society and a small contingent of human diplomats. Nervous, Ambassador? High Counselor Thrain asked at his side. Anticipatory, Lucas corrected with a diplomatic smile. This alliance will change both our worlds. Indeed, Thrain agreed, his tone unreadable. Lucas extended his senses, catching fragments of whispered conversations around the temple. Most were mundane, commentary on his appearance, speculation about the ceremony, gossip about court affairs. But one exchange near the back of the temple caught his attention. And after the binding, the Krell emissary expects immediate confirmation. The human suspects nothing. The Emperor has arranged everything. Lucas kept his expression neutral as ceremonial horns announced Alea's arrival. The assembled crowd fell silent as she processed toward the altar. From the gasps and murmurs, Lucas gathered her appearance was causing quite a stir. She wears the silver crown, someone whispered nearby. The Emperor will be furious. The prophecy, another voice hissed. It begins. When Alea reached him, her hand found his with confident precision. The moment they touched, their mental connection bloomed again, stronger than before, immediate and clear. They plan to kill you after the ceremony, her thoughts flowed into his mind. The Krell emissary is here, disguised as a minor noble from the southern province. Lucas squeezed her hand gently to acknowledge he'd received her message. My father signed the agreement 3 days ago, she continued. Earth ships will be granted passage through the corridors as promised, but Krell warships will follow, using the same access codes. The Imperial officiant began the ceremony, his sonorous voice echoing through the temple as he recited ancient Vertalian vows. Lucas and Alea responded as rehearsed, but beneath their spoken words, their minds continued their urgent exchange. There's more, Alea projected. The prophecy is why they fear us. It's not just about political change, it's about evolutionary change. The texts speak of a new kind of Vertalian arising from our union, one with abilities that would end the current power structure. As the officiant wrapped a ceremonial cord around their joined hands, symbolizing their binding, Lucas felt something strange happening. The mental connection between them intensified, expanding beyond mere communication. Suddenly, impossibly, shapes and colors began forming in his mind, not memories or imagination, but actual visual input. He was seeing, truly seeing, for the first time since childhood. Through Eliah's eyes, I can see. The thought thundered through Lucas's mind as visual information flooded his consciousness for the first time in over 20 years. Through Eliah's eyes, he witnessed the Grand Temple's soaring architecture, the sea of colorful Vertalian nobility, and most strikingly, himself, tall and commanding in formal Earth diplomatic attire. His blindfold a stark contrast against his face. Focus, Lucas, Eliah's thoughts guided him. There, 3 rows back, the noble with the crimson sash. That's the Krell emissary. Lucas directed their shared vision toward the figure, a Vertalian in appearance, but with subtle differences in posture and movement that betrayed his alien nature. Through Eliah's enhanced perception, Lucas could see a faint distortion around the being, some kind of holographic disguise. And there, Eliah continued, the royal guards at the eastern entrance have disruptors, not ceremonial weapons. The imperial officiant continued the ceremony, oblivious to their silent exchange. As the sacred cord binds, so shall your fates be bound, he intoned, tightening the silvery material around their joined hands. The moment the cord was knotted, something extraordinary happened. Eliah's silver markings began to glow with increasing brightness, and visible even through her ceremonial robes. Gasps rippled through the assembly. The prophecy manifests, someone shouted from the crowd. Lucas felt a strange, tingling sensation behind his eyes, spreading throughout his body. Through their connection, he sensed the same happening to Alea, a physical transformation triggered by their bonding. Now Lucas projected into their shared consciousness. Before they can act, with perfect synchronization impossible for any normal couple, they turned to face the assembled court. Lucas removed his blindfold with his free hand, revealing eyes that now glowed with the same silvery light as Eliah's markings. People of Vertal, he announced, his voice carrying with unusual clarity, I stand before you as Earth's representative, but also as someone who has seen the truth. He emphasized the word seen with deliberate irony. Your emperor has betrayed not only Earth, but all of Vertal by secretly allying with the Krell Dominion. Chaos erupted as the emperor rose from his throne. Seize them, he commanded. The guards moved forward but hesitated as Eliah's glow intensified. Several members of the court, those with faint silver markings similar to hers, though less pronounced, moved to stand between them and the guards. The silver prophecy comes to pass, announced an elderly Vertalian counselor, removing his ornate robe to reveal silver-marked arms. The time of deception ends today. Lucas identified the disguised Krell emissary, attempting to slip away. Ambassador Revik of Earth, he called out to a human diplomat in the assembly. The Krell agent is escaping. 3rd row, crimson sash. The human security team reacted instantly, moving to intercept the disguised alien. The Krell, realizing he was exposed, reached for a concealed weapon, but was tackled by 2 human guards before he could fire. Meanwhile, Prince Kalen had drawn a ceremonial blade. This abomination must end, he shouted, lunging toward Lucas and Eliah. What happened next astonished everyone present. Without breaking their joined hands, Lucas and Eliah moved in perfect harmony, as if they shared not just vision, but physical coordination. They sidestepped Kalen's attack with fluid grace, Lucas using his free hand to disarm the prince, while Eliah simultaneously projected a mental pulse that left her brother staggering, clutching his head. Enough! Emperor Thalon's voice boomed across the temple. You dare disrupt a sacred ceremony with these accusations? We dare speak truth, Alea replied, her voice stronger than Lucas had ever heard it. As I now speak the truth of what you did to Mother when she began developing silver markings? The Emperor paled visibly. Silence! You poisoned her slowly, Alea continued relentlessly, fearing the prophecy even then. You've suppressed those with silver markings for generations, calling us defective when we are simply different, evolved. Lucas addressed the stunned assembly. The alliance your emperor negotiated with the Krell would have granted them access to Earth's colonies through your hyperspace corridors. Billions of human lives were to be sacrificed for weapons technology. The Imperial consort stepped forward. These are lies. The human has corrupted Alaya's mind. See for yourselves, Lucas challenged, nodding to Ambassador Revik, who activated a holographic projector. The recorded conversation between the Emperor and the Krell emissary played for all to hear, damning evidence of the planned betrayal. As the recording ended, the silver-marked Vertalians moved forward, growing in number as more revealed themselves from throughout the assembly. The prophecy speaks true, the elderly counselor announced. For generations we have hidden our markings, feared our abilities, been treated as lesser beings. No more. Lucas felt Alaya's emotions through their bond, hope, vindication, and a fierce determination. Her thoughts flowed into his. This is bigger than us now. The silver-marked have been waiting for this moment for generations. The Emperor, seeing his support crumbling, made one final desperate move. He drew a small device from his robes. If I activate this, the Krell fleet waiting beyond our moon will attack immediately. Surrender now, or both our worlds burn? Lucas smiled, a confident human smile that had unnerved alien adversaries across the galaxy. I wouldn't count on that, Your Majesty. He turned to Ambassador Revik. Status. The human diplomat checked his communicator. Earth fleet reports all Krell vessels have been neutralized. Admiral Channing sends his regards and thanks for the advance warning. The Emperor's face contorted with rage. Impossible! How could you have known? You made one critical mistake, Lucas replied. You assumed a blind human wouldn't notice what was right in front of him. He squeezed Alaya's hand. You gave me the one person who could help me see everything. 1 year later, Lucas stood on the balcony of the New Alliance embassy, gazing out at the transformed skyline of Vertal's capital city. The silver spires of the newly constructed Evolutionary Sciences Academy gleamed in the morning light, a symbol of the remarkable changes that had swept through Vertalian society. Though he no longer needed to see through Alaya's eyes, his own vision had gradually returned over the past year, another unexpected gift of their bond. He still cherished their mental connection. It had evolved into something both more subtle and more profound, a constant awareness of each other that transcended physical proximity. Admiring your handiwork again? Alaya's voice came from behind him, warm with affection. Lucas turned to see his wife, her azure skin luminous in the morning light, silver markings more prominent than ever. Her previously concealed beauty now radiated openly, no longer constrained by Vertalian standards that had once deemed her ugly. The gentle swell of her abdomen beneath her flowing silver robe was the newest miracle in their extraordinary journey. Our handiwork, he corrected, drawing her into his arms. I was just thinking about how much has changed since they tried to trick the blind human. Alaya laughed, the sound like music. The greatest miscalculation in Vertalian diplomatic history. Their loss, my immeasurable gain, Lucas murmured, kissing her forehead. The transition had not been without challenges. After the Emperor's treachery was exposed, Vertal had experienced months of political upheaval. The silver-marked Vertalians, led by Alaya and the elderly Counselor Trevain, had formed an interim government while a new constitutional system was developed. The former Emperor and Prince Kalen were now serving life sentences for treason, while the Imperial consort had chosen exile on a distant colony world. Princess Alana, surprisingly, had become one of their strongest allies. Free from her father's influence, she had revealed her own suppressed silver markings, far less prominent than Alaya's, but present nonetheless, and now served as Vertal's ambassador to Earth. The Galactic Council delegation arrives today, Alaya reminded him, her hand finding his. Are you nervous? Humans don't get nervous, Lucas replied with a wink. We get strategically concerned. Of course, she teased. How could I forget? The Galactic Council, a loose confederation of 17 spacefaring species, had initially viewed the human Vertalian developments with alarm. The unprecedented genetic compatibility between their species culminating in Aloya's pregnancy, had triggered emergency sessions and heated debates about potential implications. "They're afraid," Lucas had explained to the Vertalian Transitional Council months earlier. "Not of us specifically, but of what we represent. Evolution happening in real time. Boundaries between species becoming permeable." "They should be excited," Alaya had countered. "Think of the possibilities for cooperation, for growth." "That's the human perspective," Lucas had noted with pride. "We see opportunity where others see threat." Now, as they prepared to welcome the Council's scientific and diplomatic delegation, Lucas felt a surge of optimism. The preliminary medical data on their developing child had already revolutionized xenobiology throughout known space. The infant carried genetic markers from both species, yet was developing normally, something previously thought impossible. "I received a message from Admiral Channing this morning," Lucas said as they walked back inside. "The first joint human-Vertalian fleet exercises were a complete success. The neural link technology based on our bond has exceeded all expectations." "The silver prophecy continues to unfold," Alaya observed. "Though I doubt the ancient seers imagined hyperspace battle cruisers," Lucas laughed. "Probably not. But they got the important parts right. The sightless one who sees all truths, and the marked outcast bringing about a new era." "And raising silver banners," Alaya added, gesturing to the new Vertalian flag flying alongside Earth's emblem, a field of deep blue with a silver starburst at its center. Their quarters in the embassy reflected their unique partnership, a blend of human practicality and Vertalian aesthetics. The communication console chimed softly, indicating an incoming transmission. "Ambassador Parks," came the voice of his human assistant, "the Galactic Council ships have entered orbit. They request permission to send down their delegation." "Permission granted," Lucas replied. "We'll meet them in the grand reception hall." As they prepared to depart, Alaya paused before the mirror, adjusting her ceremonial robes. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked suddenly. "Being bound to the ugly sister?" Lucas moved behind her, his hands resting gently on her shoulders as they both gazed at their reflection. "I never saw ugliness in you," he said softly. "Even when I was blind." "I know," she whispered, leaning back against him. "That's why I fell in love with you." Their eyes met in the mirror, his now with silver flecks matching her markings, hers with a depth and confidence that had blossomed over their year together. "They thought I wouldn't notice the substitution," Lucas mused, his hands sliding down to cradle her growing belly. "Instead, I noticed everything that mattered." "Human perception is remarkably adaptable," she agreed, turning in his arms. "As is Vertalian tradition, apparently," he replied with a smile. "Who would have thought your people would embrace change so enthusiastically?" "They needed a catalyst," Alaya said. "Someone to show them possibilities beyond their rigid structures." Her fingers traced the silver-flecked irises of his eyes. "Humanity brought that spark." "Humanity, fuck yeah," Lucas quipped, using the irreverent phrase that had become something of a diplomatic inside joke between their species. Alaya laughed, the sound echoing through their mental bond as well as the room. "Indeed. Now let's go show the Galactic Council what happens when you underestimate a blind human and the alien bride no one wanted." As they walked toward the reception hall, representatives from both worlds nodded respectfully. What had begun as a diplomatic deception had transformed into the most significant interspecies alliance in known history. The child they were expecting, already being called the first of the Silver Stars in Vertalian poetry, represented not just their personal bond, but a new evolutionary path forward. "Ready to change the galaxy?" Lucas asked as they paused before the grand doors. Alaya's smile was radiant, her silver markings glowing softly with emotion. "With you? Always." The doors swung open to reveal the assembled dignitaries from across the stars, all eyes turning to the couple who had rewritten the rules of what was possible between species. "Ambassador Lucas Parks and Consul Alaya Parks," announced the herald. They stepped forward together, united in purpose and in love. The blind human who saw everything, and the unwanted sister who had become the most important Vertalian in generations. Sometimes Lucas reflected as they greeted the astonished delegates. The greatest diplomatic victories came from the most spectacular miscalculations. They had given the blind human male the ugly humanoid alien sister, thinking he wouldn't notice. What happened changed everything. 5 years later, the gardens of the park's estate buzzed with activity as diplomats and dignitaries from 17 worlds mingled beneath flowering trees. At the center of it all, a small boy with azure skin and silver-flecked brown eyes darted between guests, his laughter carrying across the gathering. "Tarian!" Lucas called, spotting his son about to climb one of the decorative sculptures. "The Andromean ambassador is not a jungle gym." The ambassador in question, a towering, multi-limbed being, rumbled with amusement. "I do not mind, Ambassador Parks. Young Tarian honors me with his curiosity." Alaya appeared at Lucas's side, her hand finding his with practiced ease. Their mental connection hummed with shared affection as they watched their son charm yet another galactic representative. "He has your diplomatic skills," she observed, "and my disregard for protocol." "A terrifying combination," Lucas agreed with a smile. Tarian Elian Parks, named for the ancient Vertalian word for bridge and Lucas's grandfather, had become something of a galactic celebrity since his birth. The first viable human Vertalian child, he embodied the unexpected compatibility between their species that scientists were still struggling to explain. More remarkable than his mere existence were his abilities. By age 3, he had demonstrated telepathic aptitudes exceeding even Alaya's, connecting effortlessly with beings from multiple species. By 4, he had begun manifesting unique cognitive patterns that allowed him to intuitively understand alien languages and concepts. The Galactic Science Academy has requested another series of non-invasive studies, Lucas mentioned quietly. They've finally admitted that the old xenobiological models are completely inadequate. "Humanity's gift to the galaxy," Alaya replied, "proving that the impossible is merely improbable until someone tries it." Their son raced back to them, throwing himself into Lucas's arms with complete trust. "Father, the Andromean says their homeworld has purple oceans. Can we visit?" "Perhaps on our next diplomatic tour," Lucas answered, ruffling the boy's lilac-colored hair. Turian turned to his mother, his silver-flecked eyes bright with excitement. "Mother, I connected with Ambassador Revik's daughter. She showed me Earth's whales in her memories." "Did you remember to ask permission first?" Alaya inquired gently. "Yes, Tarian nodded emphatically. "Just like you taught me." As their son ran off to continue his explorations, Lucas and Alaya shared a moment of quiet pride. What had begun as a diplomatic deception had culminated in not just their union, but in this extraordinary child who represented the future, a future where the boundaries between species became opportunities rather than barriers. "They thought I wouldn't notice the substitution," Lucas mused, echoing words he'd spoken years before. Alaya completed the thought through their bond. "Instead, we noticed possibilities no one had imagined." Around them, human and Vertalian staff worked seamlessly together, while representatives from across the galaxy discussed the Silver Protocol, the framework for interspecies cooperation that had grown from their unique union. And at the heart of it all, a small boy named Tarian, neither fully human nor fully Vertalian, but perfectly himself, ran laughing beneath alien suns, building bridges with every step.